How many children is this going to get health care? How many people are going to get an education from this? How many kids are going to be able to go to college because of this? We have got to understand, you know, and I respect both of my fellow candidates, but we have got to understand this is not about us personally. It is about what we are trying to do for this country and what we believe in. Now, fiscal responsibility, which I think was the question. It's a little hard to tell at the end of that. But I think the question was about fiscal responsibility. I have proposed, I think, the most aggressive, most progressive agenda of the three of us up here. You know, I was the first to come out with a universal health care plan, first to come out with a global warming plan, first, and to the best of my knowledge only at this point, to come out with a comprehensive, detailed plan to end poverty in America since we are on Dr. King's Day. This is the cause of my life. Everything I have proposed, I have come up with a way to pay for. And I've been very explicit about how it should be paid for. Not abstract, not rhetoric, very, very explicit. But I do have to say, in response to something Senator Clinton said just a minute ago, both Senator Obama and I have said Social Security needs a solution. And we have said we won't privatize, we won't cut benefits, we won't raise the retirement age. It was the same thing that Hillary has said. But she has proposed nothing about how we're going to create revenue to keep Social Security alive, and talked about fiscal responsibility. Here's the problem. If you don't have, this is not complicated, the American people understand it, if you got more money going out than is coming in, you're going to eventually run out of money. And you've got to have a way to pay for it, which is why, now let me finish this, Lord knows you let them go on forever. What I'm saying is, we have to be consistent in what we're saying. I have said I think Hillary doesn't want to talk about raising taxes. Let's just be honest about that. Barack and I have both said that you've got to do something about the cap on Social Security taxes, which is now capped at $97,000, means if somebody's making $80,000 a year, every dime of their income is taxed for Social Security. But if you are making $50 million a year, only the first $97,000 is taxed. That's not right. And people ought to be paying their Social Security taxes. But the American people deserve to know what we're going to do. We can disagree. There's nothing wrong with that. So they can make an informed choice, but they at least deserve to know where we stand and what we do.
We're staying on the economy, but I want Joe Johns to ask another question so we can continue this dialogue.
All right. Well, Senator Edwards, let's dig a little deeper on the economic mess we're in currently. In 2006, a study from the Center for Responsible Lending found that African Americans are something like 30% more likely to be sold a subprime loan than white borrowers with similar credit histories and income. The South Carolina NAACP said last month that the American dream for too many Americans, too many African Americans, is a national nightmare. The national NAACP has even filed a class action lawsuit against 12 nationwide lenders. So the bottom line question really is, do you believe that lenders have specifically targeted African Americans? Is this subprime mess really also an issue of race?
Yes, is the answer. I think they have targeted. If they haven't been racially motivated, I don't know. There's no way for me to know what's inside their head. But what they have done is they have targeted the lowest income, most vulnerable families. And anybody who's paying any attention to what's going on in America today understands if you are African American in this country today, you're likely to have a net worth of about 10% of what white families have. This is not an accident. I mean, we can go put our heads against the wall and pretend that the past never happened, pretend that we didn't live through decades of slavery, followed by decades of segregation, followed by decades of discrimination, which is still going on today. That history and that legacy has consequences. And the consequence has been that African American families are more vulnerable. They're more vulnerable to payday lenders. They're more vulnerable to predatory lenders, which is why we desperately need a national law, which I have proposed, which would crack down on these predatory payday lenders. It's not enough to do it state by state, because these predators just move from place to place to place. I was in a neighborhood in Cleveland a few months ago, 1 block radius, 38 houses under foreclosure. Middle-class African-American neighborhood. These people worked, They put everything they had into their homes, and they were about to lose them because these predators had come into the neighborhood and taken everything they had. So here are the solutions. Number one, we need a national predatory lending law. Number two, we've got to help low-income families save. They have nothing to fall back on. Many have no bank account. They don't deal with financial institutions. We need to teach financial literacy. We need to match what they're able to save so that they actually have something that they can fall back on in case they get in a place where they need more money.
All right, I want both Senator Clinton and Senator Obama to respond, but briefly, Senator Clinton, your proposal calls for a 5-year moratorium on interest rates, 90-day moratorium on foreclosure, 5-year keeping those interest rates the same. Alan Greenspan suggested that we simply have to let this housing crisis exhaust itself. Trying to prevent the housing markets from going down merely prolongs the agony. Does your plan, as he would seem to be suggesting, prolong the agony?
No, I think it helps to mitigate the agony. I mean, what I hear is I go in and out of people's homes and talk to so many who have already lost their homes, they're in foreclosure, they see these interest rates that are about to go up and they know they can't pay them, is that we take action now. I've been calling for action since last March. You know, when I first started calling for it, a lot of the same economists who now say don't do anything about it, say, well, it won't be that bad. We'll be able to weather the crisis. Well, the fact is the mortgage crisis is not only destroying the dreams of Americans for home ownership, it is having a ripple effect across the world. So my moratorium for 90 days is a workout. It's not a bailout. I want people to be able to see whether they can stay in their homes paying a rate that is affordable for them. And the interest rate freeze is, I think, merited because look at what's happening. If you're a big bank that helped get us into this mess, you go borrow money from Abu Dhabi or somewhere. If you're a homeowner who has been at the bottom of this incredible scheme that was established, you're left holding the bag and you don't have the house anymore. So I just disagree with those
Senator.
who say don't try to do anything to help the people who need the help right now.
Senator Obama.
I think that we need to help them. I think it is important to make sure that we're not helping out the speculators, but instead are helping out the homeowners who are actually living in their homes, who have the capacity to make the payments if they're not seeing a huge increase in their mortgage payments. But understand this, this is not new. I mean, we have a history in this country of preying on low-income peoples because they don't have access to banks. The Community Reinvestment Act is oftentimes not enforced as it should be. We've got to open up bank branches. We've got to give people access to financing so that they're not going to a payday loan operation. I, 2 years ago, introduced a provision that would eliminate predatory lending, something that I had already helped to get passed at the state level. But it is important for us to understand that we've got to give ordinary working people access to financing. And it's important to understand that part of the reason that they are borrowing on their homes, they're borrowing on credit cards, is that the banks and financial institutions have dominated policy in Washington. And this is an area where I've got a policy disagreement with Senator Clinton. When we talked a while back, just in the last debate, we talked about the bankruptcy bill, which had been pushed by the banks and the financial institutions, that said, basically, it will be harder for folks who have been lured into these teaser rates and then see their credit cards go up to 30%, that they would have a tougher time getting out of bankruptcy. In the last debate, Senator Clinton said she voted for it but hoped that it wouldn't pass. Now, I don't understand that approach to legislation. I think it is important for us to stand up to these special interests consistently, all of the time. And that's what I've done, and that's what I will continue to do.
I'm going to go to Suzanne. I'm going to go to, hold on. I'm going to go to Suzanne. I'm going to go to Suzanne Malveaux in a second, but I just wanted to give you a chance, Senator Obama, if you want to respond. Senator Clinton made a serious allegation that you worked for a slumlord, and I wonder if you want to respond.
I'm happy to respond. Here's what happened. I was an associate at a law firm that represented a church group that had partnered with this individual to do a project. And I did about 5 hours worth of work on this joint project. That's what she's referring to. Now, it's fine for her to throw that out. But the larger reason that I think this debate is important is because we do have to trust our leaders and what they say. That is important, because if we can't, then we're not going to be able to mobilize the American people.